opening day 2 with one of the most proactive sessions titles of the summit. So our next speaker is Dr. Geo Decker, co-founder of SAP Signavio and executive sponsor at SAP Labs Germany. He believes AI agents are about to unlock enormous enterprise value, and he has strong opinions about where SAP fits into that future. So please welcome Gero.
So I started with the ambition to have the most actionable title in this conference, okay? So the call to action is already right there. So if you want to switch off your brain for the rest of this session, you already learned something that will be good for you. Okay, so joking aside, I love to have fun. Who here in the room loves to have fun? We need to get there, okay? I love to have fun. I love technology. Who here loves playing around with the newest AI toys, see what they can do for you? Yeah, a few of you. I see a lot of people either still asleep or very conservative. But I'll get you on my journey, okay? So I love playing around with stuff. And when I look at Instagram, I see all of this phenomenal content. And I said, I want to create something for this myself. Look at this guy. He's the new Hollywood star. The blockbuster movie, Gero's AI Paradise is here, right? Of course, yes, I would love to do paragliding. I've never done it. 3 prompts, and yes, I'm flying. A gazelle flying with me, okay. Forgot the helmet in the video, sorry for that. Need to work on the prompt. Yes, of course, I'm diving into the ocean. What am I going to find? Oh, the gazelle is with me again. I'm finding a treasure. Of course, AI is the treasure. Yes, of course, but we're not done. No. What else do we have? Of course, I'm a DJ, yes. For those of you who didn't know, you can book me. Tech house, bass house, drum and bass, I give you everything. This is how it looks. Okay, great. So why am I telling you this? Why am I showing you this stupid video that has nothing to do with the rest of my presentation? The only thing that it has to do with my presentation is the question. It's amazing what we can do in some areas with AI, but if we look into the enterprise, we're not there yet, or we see very little adoption still today, or it seems to be very, very hard to apply AI in an enterprise context. And we want to dive into that. But before going there, I'm asking an oracle, right? Somebody who can predict the future. Who can best predict the future? Of course, the stock market. The stock market can always predict the future. And the stock market predicted that SAP dies, okay? Our stock went down 50% since our high last year. Seemingly everything is different now. The rules have been rewritten. The question of what makes a great company are no longer true. Yesterday it was sticky revenue, subscriptions, ever-expanding customer cohorts, because it's so hard to throw SaaS software out. Today's all different. SaaS is dead. We've all read about it. And there are only 2 things left. 2 things left. How do AI companies win? The new rules. Simple. I'm telling you stuff you already know. But I want to do that as a primer to then reflect on how can you actually make that work as a company. Data mode. Who has tried vibe cloning? You know what vibe cloning is? Vibe coding, we all know. It's been around for a year. Vibe cloning, the term is rather new. Vibe cloning is the exercise of taking your favorite SaaS application and then replicating that in less than an hour with Claude Code. Who has tried that? Nobody? It's a fun exercise. You should do it. You'd say, I love Jira, or I love Monday.com, or I love Notion, right? And then you say, AI, copy this for me, build it. And it's surprising for which application it works and for which application it doesn't work. If you have and we have that within SAP too. So we had the first instances of Vibe cloning also for our own products. So for example, we have a product in our portfolio called LeanIX. And a customer came and said, look, I had 2 interns Vibe clone the software, and it does 95% of what the software does that I'm buying from you you charge me $250K per year for the software. I have 2 interns doing it. That's a little less money, so I cancel the contract. So LeanIX, surprise, surprise, very little data mode in the product. If you try to do that with the company or the product I helped build, Signavio, if you Vibe clone it, you will only get roughly 25 to 30% of the product. And 75% of the product you don't get. Why? Because it has a data mode. Because most of the value of the product comes because the product is loaded with data that nobody else in the world has access to. Right? Benchmarks, recommendations, massive amounts of knowledge bases about how to understand a certain process, how to improve it, what the options are, and so on and so forth. And the other one is expertise mode. So if you really, really nerd out, on certain topics, you can also develop a mode. I always say, thank you, SAP, for being so masochistic. In the last 5 years, I was complaining at SAP that we are not getting the cloud mindset into the company because at SAP we tend to be very masochistic in the sense of that no matter how complex the customer is, no matter how much they complain, no matter how complicated things are, we tell them we'll make it work for you. How stupid is that in the cloud age? I was preaching to my colleagues that said we need to fire the customer. This customer is keeping us from delivering to the next 99, and it's dragging a lot of energy trying to make it work for everybody. Now, in this time, it turns out, this is exactly what keeps us in exactly those very complex scenarios and makes us survive, because all of the things that are easy can be Vibe cloned with 5 prompts. Okay? So the things that are hard, the things that are non-obvious, the things that hurt, suddenly make a huge difference. Okay. So now I wanted to reflect a little bit how SAP is positioned in this. This is a slide we showed last week. This week we have our big event, Sapphire. I'm a little hungover still because I came back from Madrid last night, and there are good parties in Madrid always. This is what we launched, just so that you've seen it. So we launch hundreds of agents across all of these different domains. So if we call it autonomous enterprise, you might argue, is it a good name or not? Doesn't matter. So for example, take a simple example, travel reimbursement. Yes, of course, we have the leading travel management software, Concur, in our portfolio. But in large corporates, it's always a huge pain to actually get your money, because it will tell you, oh, you have to reclassify this, and we lack information there, and you need to go back to the hotel to get this additional information. They need to change the invoice, right? Let an agent do that. All of that work, right? So you have travel reimbursement agent. It's one out of those 400 things that we launched. Or you want to do month-end close, but it's not a small startup that you have, but a large corporate, so you have 230 different legal entities, and you need to consolidate them, and there's mismatches in the books, and you need to find, connect all of the loose ends. So far, people do a lot of the digging, a lot of the groundwork, go here, ask a question there, try to find that information there, to work around all of these things that don't add up with standard automation, to fix that and close your books. Now, launch an agent that's supposed to do all of that. But the even more interesting thing is what happens underneath the cover. Yes, we did a couple of really cool things. We built this Joule Studio, for example. One of the cool components in there is we OEM'd N8N. So you can build N8N natively now inside of SAP technology with SAP security regime, blah, 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 blah. Really cool. But even more interesting for me, because this is the part where I spent most of my time, is this contextualize and reason part. And I wanted to spend some time to walk you through some of those areas in the contextualize and reason part. Because this is really where agents come to work, and where they work or where they don't work. Coming back to my stupid little AI video, asking the question, why is it so hard to make agentic work in the enterprise? There is a common problem that we face. No matter how good of a job we do as a software vendor, what you get when you buy an agent or you build an agent, what you typically get is the equivalent to this. And this is a highly motivated, hopefully very skilled employee that walks through your door on day one but hasn't been onboarded yet and has no clue about your specific company. This person knows everything about controlling and knows everything about procurement and knows everything about whatever, right? It knows, how the systems work, that this person is, because this is all general knowledge, right? This is general knowledge that you find on the internet, or it's general knowledge that the vendor, like we SAP, have across many companies. So we can equip that agent, of course, with all of that knowledge, but this is only 70% of what you need, because the 30% is what normally happens once that smart, well-educated employee comes to your door and then goes through onboarding and then works with you in the company for a year, 2, 3, 5, 10 years, and knows all of the things how we work around here. The very well-onboarded employee will know, okay, this is how it generally works, but if push comes to shove, if I go to Peter and I catch him in the wrong moment, he will just bluntly say no. But if I'm really nice to Natasha first, right, and figure out with her what this and this and this, how that could be done, and then I go to Peter, then it will work, right? This is all of the tribal knowledge about how organizations click, what works, what doesn't work, all the specificities that a company has. And here is the difference between an agent and a plain old automation. The difference between an agent and automation, old traditional automation, is it's inherently about the exceptions, it's inherently about running into walls, it's inherently about the things that need a lot of creativity, testing, experimentation to get to the outcome. It's not just a smarter way to specify the workflow because you're lazy, no. Because specifying an automation is pretty efficient also. And you can use Claude Code to generate your workflow if that helps. But the difference is really that creativity part where you work around the edges. So if the agent doesn't have that, it's not an agent, it's a traditional automation. So let's focus on these last 30%. And we try to reverse engineer. And now I'm going to show something that we built that I'm very proud of, because it's really cool, that solves this problem, okay, for the enterprise and for large-scale agent deployments. So we started looking at where do we get these additional 30% of information from. There's a couple of things that come to your mind immediately. Every company has like these 250 policy documents. Okay, boom, give them to me, read them. There's additional guidelines, standard operating procedures. That's all fine. There's additional process documentation sitting across your SharePoints and everywhere. But then it gets really, really interesting, because a lot of the information that is relevant to know how you work around here will be hidden, for example, in chat history, in your Slack channels, your Q4 deal desk, where you discuss how to get a deal over the line, given all of the constraints and all of the things and all of the stuff that you're trying to optimize for, right? This is where you start finding really, really interesting stuff, meeting transcripts, emails, and so on and so forth. And we build a thing that we call company memory. So the idea really is to capture all process knowledge, the long tail of process knowledge, in your company across all domains that you have, right? To have ingestion and continuous monitoring of all of the different input channels. If you want to, you can say, here's my Outlook inbox, go fetch it. Nobody does that. People give it individual emails to read, but all of the document shares and so on and so forth, you would share. You would allow it to be on your Slack, monitor all of the channels that you have in Slack, to then identify what are the nuggets of business knowledge, of process knowledge, that I can find, that I can reverse engineer from the discussions that are happening there. Strategies that work, ideas that work, things that don't work, okay? So I think I have an example here. Okay, so hey Jane, quick one. I was just on a call with a customer, and they said they can move forward in this quarter if we allow 30%, oh, there's a formatting issue, allow 30% up front and the rest after go live. Finance was pushing for full payment after delivery, but honestly, this might unblock the deal. Can we make an exception here? Right, typical situation that classic automation would not be able to handle, right? But this is the classic situation that you want an agent to be able to handle. The agent should resolve all of these types of situations for you and do all of the best recommendations, take the right actions, and so on and so forth. So if you then go to the company memory, and this is where we have long list, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of what we call process atoms. This is these small nuggets of knowledge that we collect from everywhere. Some will talk about flexibility for top 10 deals of the quarter. Some will talk about payment term deviations and kind of, who feels comfortable approving what's the history behind it, and so on and so forth. Or, for example, finance people chiming in to give you all of the kind of implications or relationships between accounting, revenue recognition, and certain choices that you make on the sales side. Right? So this would be like a very tangible example of something that you want to have your agent solve. And the challenge is there's not just this one type of question, because it would be easy and then you can start coding it up. But you have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of these types of situations that you want to go through. The agent challenge is really a long-tail challenge, right? This is our observation. The highways in the company, we have solved a long time ago, right? This is what you have your standard applications for. This is where you have workflows, all of that. That's what we build RPA for. It's done, right? But agentic is about solving the long-tail challenge. How can you solve that? Good. So then, once you have that company memory, and the idea is you can say, thumbs up, thumbs down, or it needs changing. Stay in control of all of the knowledge that you have there. And then you have a central place that then feeds back into the agents that you have, right? In the agent platform of choice. When you build it inside of Claude, or you build it inside of the Google platform or the SAP platform, wherever, you can attach the company memory into that as the feeder for the procedural context of that agent. Yes, Joule is our kind of conversational environment, and there are many other uses where you want to do this. And then the really cool thing is that it gives you a couple of things. One, it gives you, for the first time, a visibility, observability of behavioral implications, and it gives you governance across also agent fleets that are in the hundreds or in the thousands, right? And there are many agents. Just to give you one example. So for example, finance inside of Microsoft. So if you look at the finance team inside of Microsoft, big SAP shop, today they have roughly 4,000 agents live. Okay, 4,000 agents roughly inside of finance only. Microsoft, just to give you an amount of scale, what is already happening today. And this is what you want to have observability for, and this is what you want to have governance for. And the thing is that these agents, they learn as they go. You might know this architectural pattern in agentic, which is called agent memory. So if you build the agent wrong, it will every time kind of start from scratch, if you will, given the context you give it. But if you give it a agent memory, then the agent, whenever it does something, it can write back into its memory all of the things that it learned so that it can be faster, smarter the next time around it does something. And here comes the interesting thing, the big difference between an agent and a human. The similarity between agents and humans is you can observe what they do, right? So you can, with a human, you can observe the arms and the legs and what I say. Same is true with the agent. You can observe the actions an agent takes, information it requests, and so on and so forth. This is the observable behavior, kind of the interface of the agent that you can look at. And last year, we launched agent mining for exactly that, to look at the interface of the agent to get a really good grasp of how they are behaving. But the big difference between a human and an agent is that you can slice open the brain. With a human, well, you could, but you don't want to do that. With an agent, you can, and it doesn't hurt. And you constantly look into things like the agent memory to observe what are they learning. Beyond observable behavior, you observe what they are learning, what they're writing into their own strategy going forward into their brain. Good. Now, this is really cool because then suddenly you have a kind of a self-learning system, really, because we take this beyond the individual agent. The agent memory is local to the agent, to one singular agent. And as we read it and we expose it centrally to the company memory, not only do we make it, again, governable, because you can say yes, no, looks good, looks bad, but we can also propagate that back if it's valuable, valuable knowledge gained. You can transport it back to the 20 other or 50 other agents that might benefit from it as well. And a really cool thing is, you might know that we with Signavio, we have a strong history in analytics. So, going into the various systems that exist in an enterprise to quantify and to count what happens, and to do things like correlation or even root cause analysis to see, things that we observe in the business, how do they relate, or how do they cause a certain business outcome that we want to drive. And the same is true, that's why we call it process atoms, because you can count them. We translate every atom that we have into SQL queries or whatever the underlying technology is for the systems where we find the data, so that we can start counting how often something appears. It appears in conjunction with what, how does it, again, feed into the outcome that I want to drive, right? And what can I observe from it? So really cool thing, I'm very proud about this. Customers got very, very excited. The people who started using it, it's amazing to see what they're able to do with that. So something very, very cool. I brought a bunch of video screenshots. I think it's not even necessary. I don't know. What do we see? Yes, of course, there's a galaxy where you can navigate. There's all kinds of engagement stuff. Yes, you can upload emails, or you can attach. Yes, of course, it will try to, here's about coconut procurement, whatever example. Yes, you can explore, you can quantify, blah, 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 blah. Is there anything more interesting here? Navigate it in different ways. Okay, yes, of course, you can see where those atoms are used, right? So you have traceability. So if you update an atom, we know immediately, who was this atom used by in the past, right? So we can basically redeploy, if you will, or make sure it gets injected to everywhere it needs, in terms of enterprise systems, in terms of agents, and so on and so forth. Okay, good. This is it. Click, 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 click. I want to come back to this, okay? Back to my tagline of the presentation. Look at this beautiful chart. Look at this beautiful chart. I tell you, it is magic when your stock price collapses by 50%. You know why? Because it raises all of the right questions in the company, right? And it sets free so much creativity, so much urgency, so much collaboration across teams who didn't work together before. So much positive energy coming through this to say, look, SAP is the biggest, the only software tech company on a European tech company that operates on a global scale, right? Do we want to be the ones who see it die? Or are we the ones who prove the world that, yes, the rules of the game have changed, but, we had a good track record the last 50 years. We're able to turn the ship around. I could tell you last week, this week, what I've seen, Sapphire, the type of momentum. Yes, we do AI native development too. So within Signavio alone, productivity went up like 4 or 5 times already the last 18 months. All that translates to being able to do things that were not possible before. And so you see, I should have given the presentation last week because this was really the low at 135. Now we're at 155 in terms of stock price, but it's still a good time to buy. Fundamentals look amazing. The growth rates, if you look at the numbers, phenomenal. And what we've been able to pull off to kind of reinvent ourselves in the age of agents is really, really fascinating. So call to action, go buy. Good. So with that, thank you so much.
I have a question for you.
Looking forward to it.
Well, before I ask, are you open for a question or two?
I think we have like a minute or two, right? So yeah, go ahead.
There are 5 minutes. But does anyone in the room I want to leave it to the room first. Anyone who wanna challenge? Or have a, okay. Well, I wrote a question down. Because you said 95% of product like Notion and so on can be cloned, with Claude in under an hour. And one of your customers canceled a $250,000 contract because 2 interns rebuilt the software. So what should every founder in this room, do on Monday morning to make sure they're not next?
Well, first thing is try the vibe cloning approach with your own product. And it might fail for multiple different reasons. It might fail because Claude doesn't find enough of you on the internet. Okay, so we have a marketing challenge here for your product. So it will not find enough, screenshots or videos and tutorials to go through. So fix that, be visible. But even more importantly, ask yourself the question, do you have one of these 2 modes, or ideally both, data mode, expertise mode? Where do you, do you have data? What type of data do you have that nobody else has access to in that form? There is a workaround a little bit for data mode, and that is momentum. But the jury is still out whether this really works. Look at a company like Lovable. Lovable doesn't have a data mode per se. They don't, right? It's a great tool. A lot of people love it. But there is no inherent data mode per se. They might be able to develop a data mode through momentum because they have millions and millions and millions and millions of people building apps and stuff through Lovable. So based on that information, because nobody else has access to that except for Lovable, they might be able to build it, but the jury is still out. Half of the VCs I ask, they say Lovable is a horrible model because they will be disrupted with a snap of a finger, and they will be gone and they will go down in flames. And the other half says they're able to build a data mode through momentum. The other one is expertise mode. So the teams that I meet who really nerd out on stuff that nobody else really had a good grasp on. Give you an example. Here we have an AI company in Berlin, Mirello. They generate sound for a video that doesn't have sound. Okay? So give it a video of, let's say, a tennis match, right, without sound, and it will generate you the right sound. When the ball hits the ground, it will make the sound of the audience going whatever, right? It will give you the chirping of the birds that match based on the weather conditions in the video and so on and so forth. There's like 2-3 research groups in the world who care about sound synthesis that is able to do these types of things, right? So the only competitors that you will have is founders from these other research groups coming and nerding out on this, right? So nerd out as much as you possibly can in the domain that you're in, because what you love and what you geek out on, hopefully not too many other people geek out on, and that might be a good starting point.
So you're basically saying the new modes, data and deep expertise, which is exactly what the deep tech founders are building here, that AI is maybe good news for them.
Well, so look, AI is phenomenal news. It's phenomenal news. It has never been easier to build highly scalable companies, but at the same time, it has never been easier to get disrupted overnight as well. So, it's the good and the bad happening at the same time with AI.
Which actually leads me to the last one, because, company memory reads emails, Slack, and all the internal stuff, right? And in a week where everyone is talking about European sovereignty, why should a European company trust SAP with that instead of building their own?
Look, one of the beautiful things of SAP is brand reputation.
Right.
Something that you cannot easily do overnight. So SAP has a certain set of values. It has a history of more than 50 years. It has operated in a certain way. And brand reputation to build takes a long time. And it's easy to lose trust in a brand, right? So if you're able to carry that brand reputation forward at such a high level over such a long period of time, that is a value in and of itself. Right. So as a company, we're very aware of the value the brand has, but also the responsibility it comes with, because every little action, every side note, every presentation, every move that we do, every change in commercial terms might ruin the brand reputation that we have. Without knowing the details of how we operate underneath the covers, the proof is already there, which is the brand reputation that just exists and is rock solid.
Well, that was my questions. Any other ones? Last one? I think we got all we wanted. Thank you so much, Gero. It was
Thank you.
very nice.